Part 3 Let's Conversation here with Coach Padgett, the last part. This is a great episode, and hopefully you guys enjoy. This one was a great conversation. Thank you, Coach Padgett, take the time to join me, and I'll see you guys next year with Let's Conversation as it's our last one. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. Kevin G's, what was it like having her as a player?
It was great, except for we didn't have anybody on the team that could guard her in practice, so I would go guard her, and then she would go like this with her elbow. You know, I was right at the right height where it would hit me right in the face all the time. I mean, she was so strong. So she's just like you would think, like unbelievably hard worker. Her parents raised her to be an amazing worker, and she still is. And so she was super tough. She had great players around her. She had a great class, her class especially. They were just amazing. Another girl in that class, she was 6 foot tall, and she went and played at Auburn University in Montgomery, Alabama, and college basketball player, right? And that girl was just a part of the puzzle, you know. And so having Amanda and all this talent around her, it was really good. I think Amanda's senior year, there was 2 years, I think we went 26-4, and her senior year was 1.
Yeah. Is it crazy to you like that she's back here at East, head coach, and now one of your colleagues?
It is. It's surreal sometimes.
Yeah.
Another one of those is Ryan Wiggs, Mr. Wiggs, our baseball coach. I coached him in 7th grade baseball, and you know he was about that tall at the time. And so having those guys here is great. I mean, it was great, you know, and it's so fun. And seeing them now, it's what I would expect. They were great kids and they worked hard, and so now they're great adults and they work hard. Like those are good things, and that hard work that they put in. And then the fun, like they're both great personalities. And I'm sure there's others. There's other people that I'm just not thinking of right now, but like having them back. And you know, it's cool to go to like Schnucks, you know, like I go grocery shopping and I see former players' parents, and like, hey, you know, Coach Padgett, you know, that's great. Unless I'm in a hurry, then it's not so great. But it's really cool to do that. So it's nice to see those kids grow up and be successful, and whatever it is, whether it's education or what. So, yeah.
Another one of your titles here at East is you're the PA for some of our sports events. How long have you been doing that, and when did you get that job or gig?
So I guess I got that gig the first year I was here because nobody else would do it. So they asked me to do the football. We had a guy named Mr. Steinman. He did a really good job at it. And then I think he had little kids or something, so he couldn't do it as much. And so, I mean, I've been doing it so long. When I started doing it, we didn't have our field, our stadium here. We played the games at Belleville West.
Yeah.
So I would do it at the stadium, the old stadium, at Belleville West for maybe a year or two. And I really had no idea what I was doing and no clue. And they just said, go up there and do this and say this. And I was like, oh. So then I started listening to other people. When I went to football games, I would pay attention, and then I just kind of built up a thing over the years. So, and I have to say, from day one, Mr. Mason, who teaches social studies with me, him and I have been at every game. So he's never missed one.
Wow.
And Mr. Mason is more of the not have a microphone in your hand kind of guy, background guy, and does a great job. He's the spotter, so that's how I'm able to say, you know, Stephen Stock with the tackle, you know, after a gain of 3, like he's telling me in my ear. Thank goodness he's a nice guy and doesn't tell me something terrible, because I would just repeat whatever he told me. So Mr. Mason and I have been doing that. Coach Creek's up there with us. And Mr. Hoffman is with us most of the time. So the 4 of us have been doing that. It's enjoyable, so we have a good time up there. And then I did the basketball for a long time. In the interim between coaching the girls and starting to be the JV coach for the boys 3 years ago, I did all the basketball games. And that was fun. That was probably the most fun I had, because like at our tournament and big games, like the place is packed, and you know, it's fun. It was fun for me to be a part of that because I love basketball so much.
One of your most iconic calls is your first down call. I went to an East game back in 2015, I want to say. My cousin was a football player for Collinsville. And the only thing I remember from that game is your LAN first down chant. How did that come a thing?
So we had an assistant principal here, Bruce Perkins, another like mentor for me. He's a great dude. He's retired now, living in Florida. But Mr. Perkins' son went to Mizzou, Brett, and I taught Brett at Wolf Branch and then here again. And so, you know, we were going through that together. And then we went to the Mizzou games, and they started after the first down. the MIZ, so Mizzou gets the first down, like MIZ, and then the crowd yells the OU. So Mr. Perkins suggested that I do that, so I'm like, well, we'll try it, right? So the first time I did it, it was well received, except for one person, and that person criticized just like crazy, like this is the dumbest thing ever, and it would just personally ridicule me every time I would do it. And so that made me do it even more. That was Coach Creek.
Yep.
He hates it. He can't stand it. So kind of to spite him, I do that every time, and now it's kind of become a thing, and the cheerleaders now yell out the S at the end. So, and I think sometimes it gets under the skin of the other team.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite parts of that is, I've been doing that forever. There was a Saturday game that I couldn't go to. We played Belleville West, and Mr. Berger, he does a great job too as a PA. He did it, and he did the same thing, right, just to make sure that it kept going. And then I went to the YMCA on Monday morning, and there was a guy there, and he comes up to me, he's like, "Who's the public address announcer at Belleville East?" And I was like, "Well, it's usually me, but I wasn't there on Saturday." He's like, "Well, good, because that guy's rubbing it into Belleville West. I mean, he's doing this LAN, and the crowd's yelling CER, and Belleville East is up by 28 points." I'm like, "Yeah, that Berger, that's Marcus Berger. That's his fault." Which that wasn't his fault, it's totally me.
You said you got a person that doesn't like it, Coach Creek, so you know very well, and I'm gonna play you his response when I asked him about it in an interview real quick that I did earlier this year. So.
This ought to be, yeah. I probably could already tell you what this is gonna say.
I was talking to him the other week or a few weeks ago, and he told me that you do not like his LAN first down chant for football, and he wanted me to ask you why don't you not like it?
Because it's cheesy, man. I've worked with Coach Padgett forever, and I always get on about that because he's a huge Mizzou fan, and that's what he kind of took after doing the MIZZOU thing. I don't know, man. It's just annoying. I can't stand it.
He told me that he wants to try and do it for basketball, try and do it on 3-point.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. I can guarantee you that.
It would be funny to see what would happen if we did it during a game and see what Coach Creek's reaction would be to that during a game. But no, I mean, it just became a thing in football. So,
with all those years of being a PA, what's your favorite thing about it?
Because I love sports so much, right? So growing up, my mom is a huge sports fan. She's 87 years old. And still, well, I mean, last night calls me and is like, what's the deal? There's no good basketball games on. It's Thursday night. There should be some better college basketball games on. I'm like, geez, Mom, I don't know what to tell you. So growing up, I was at games all the time. So that's why I like coaching, because I'm like kind of part of the atmosphere and a part of the games. And so being the PA guy, for me, you know, I went to Mizzou to be a broadcaster, and then that didn't work out because I chose to be an educator instead, and I'm totally fine with that. But man, I love the broadcasting part, to be a part of the games, and so that's kind of my avenue. So my favorite part is, you know, when you have a big moment, and in basketball, that happened because everybody's on top of you. You know, we got a great high school basketball gymnasium for our kids to play at, and so like, it feels like when the crowd is full and it's a cold winter night and the gym is hot and there's just a great game going on. Whether or not, I mean, in our tournament, you know, one of the best games, Chaminade against Althoff in the championship game of our tournament. They had a guy named Jericho Helms. He had 47 points. And Althoff had Jordan Goodwin. He had 51.
Wow. Yeah.
And a game, it was just an incredible game, and the atmosphere was amazing. And you get done with it, and you're sweating, and everyone in the crowd is sweating, and everybody's yelling and screaming. And just that part of it, and being a part of those moments, that's what's fun.